right. Hello, we are live. Thank you all for being here at the Book Fairies Readathon. I am here with author Dan Gutman and two of Dan Gutman's biggest fans, Sam and Gavin. Thank you all for being here. We are just over halfway through the Book Fairies Readathon. We are at we've raised just under $50,000. We're at about our halfway point for our goal. So thank you to everybody who has been donating and helping keep the mission of the Book Fairies alive. We really, really appreciate it. What we do here at the Book Fairies is very simple. We collect used books and then we redistribute them out to schools in high need areas, homeless shelters, food pantries. And I'm incredibly proud to be able to say that as of this morning, we have donated out 135,000 books since mid-March. Since the pandemic hit, we have donated out over 135,000 books, and we couldn't do that with supporters like you. So thank you so much for being here and supporting the Book Fairies at our readathon. And to you, Dan Gutman, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We're very excited to hear your stories today. And I'm going to introduce your biggest fans to do your introduction. So Gavin's going to start. You ready?
Okay. Dan Gutman was born in a log.
Go louder.
Dan Gutman was born in a log cabin. He used two lights made by candlelight with on and a stove. Wait a minute, that's Abraham Lincoln. Dan Gutman was on New York's last time settlers first forwarding flashback quarter. Series 4 kids travel through time to take pictures that have never been taken, like Hamilton, and Burr's Duel.
All right, thank you. Sam.
Dan Gutman wrote My Weird School series. AJ, Neil, Ryan, and Michael are students at elementary school, where the teachers are cuckoo crazy. Dan Gutman writes books for all children. I like his books. You will too. Enjoy, Mr. Marty loves a party.
Excellent. And here we are with Dan Gutman. Dan, again, thank you so much for being here and supporting the Book Fairies. We really appreciate it.
It's go time, baby.
It's go time, baby. All right.
Hey, guys. It's so good to be here, and I really think it's wonderful, the mission that you are all trying to accomplish. It's fantastic, and I'm happy to be part of it. And I'd love to read to you from my newest My Weird School book, which is titled, Mr. Marty Loves a Party. This is number 5 in the My Weirderest School series. It came out, I think, about a month ago, something like that. And I'm going to read you a couple of chapters. So everybody gather around your big screen TV, your laptop, your tablet, your smartphone. And I'll start with chapter 1, which is titled Happy Birthday to Me. You guys ready? Here we go. Oh, it starts with a picture on the opposite side. You know who that is. By the way, I didn't draw these beautiful pictures. Jim Palat is the illustrator of these wonderful things. And Jim and I, you might think that we work together on these books, but the truth is that Jim and I, we've only met once, and we've been working on this series for 17 years now. Okay, so here we go. Can everybody hear me? Okay, my screen is frozen. It seems like everybody else is frozen, so I'm not sure if you're hearing me, but I'm going to assume that you can. All right. My name is AJ, and I know what you're thinking. You're wondering why I just put 4 M&Ms in my mouth. Let me explain. If I put just 1 M&M in my mouth, I would barely taste it. The thing is just too small. It would be like taking a pill. 2 M&Ms are twice as much as 1 M&M, of course, but they're still not enough to get that full chocolate blast after you melt the candy coating in your mouth. 3 M&Ms are almost enough, but when you put 3 M&Ms in your mouth, you definitely feel like something is missing. 4 is the perfect number of M&Ms to put in your mouth at one time. Yum! If you put 5 M&Ms in your mouth, well, they're not going to taste any better than 4 M&Ms, so why do it? And if you're one of those people who pop a whole handful of M&Ms in your mouth at once, well, that's just crazy. What a waste of perfectly good M&Ms. So there you have it. Now you know that 4 is the magic number of M&Ms to put in your mouth at one time. You're welcome. AJ, my mom said, the big day is coming. What do you want for your birthday? A truck full of M&Ms, I replied. You can't buy a truck full of M&Ms, my dad told me. 9 years old. That's a big one. This will be my last single-digit birthday. Once you hit 10 years old, you're into double digits. And you know what that means. It's all downhill from there. Not many people live to be 100 years old and reach triple digits. So once you reach double digits, your life is pretty much over. You might as well move into a nursing home. Seriously, AJ, my dad asked, what do you want for your birthday? Or what do you want to do for your birthday? Can I take a trip to outer space? I asked. There are no trips to outer space, my mom replied, at least not yet. How about Antarctica? I suggested. I've always wanted to go to Antarctica and live with the penguins. And here's a picture on the bottom of AJ in Antarctica with the penguins, where he always wants to go. That's a little too far away, AJ, my dad said. Can I go bungee jumping off the Empire State Building? I asked. Bungee jumping off the Empire State Building would be cool. I'm pretty sure that's not allowed, said my mom. Parents are such a drag. They never let you do anything that's fun. I wasn't getting anywhere. I would have to ask for something smaller. How about a fireworks party? I suggested. Blowing stuff up is cool. I don't think our neighbors would appreciate that, said my dad. If we had a fireworks party, the neighbors next door would probably call the police. Bummer in the summer. No matter what I suggested, my parents came up with some lame reason why we couldn't do it. This was going to be the worst birthday in the history of birthdays. How about we just have a regular birthday party, AJ, suggested my mom. We'll have all your friends over, and we'll have balloons and cake and games and... I hate parties. Parties are boring. Last year, I went to the birthday party of this girl in my class named Andrea Young, who's really annoying and has curly brown hair. It was a tea party. No kidding. I had to get all dressed up and sit around drinking tea with a bunch of Andrea's girly girl friends. What a snooze fest. It will be fun, AJ, my mom continued. In fact, I heard that one of my old friends from college is a party planner now. That's a job? I asked. I can't believe somebody spent 4 years in college and ended up planning parties. That party planner should get a real job. I've heard that he's very good, my mom said excitedly. He's planned hundreds of fun and unusual parties for kids. Everybody in town hires him. I have his number. I can call him right now. Isn't that going to be expensive? I asked. This is your last single-digit birthday, AJ, said my dad. Money is no object. Well, that's chapter 1. You guys ready for chapter 2? Chapter 2 is titled, Talk to the Hand. Let me just take a sip. The next day was Saturday, so I got to sleep late. Yay, no school. When I woke up and opened my window shades, I saw a blue minivan pull up in front of our house. On the side, it said, I'm going to show you what it said on the side. I hope everybody can read that. That was weird. My old friend Marty is here, Mom hollered. I haven't seen him since college. I came downstairs, and you'll never believe who walked through the door at that moment. Nobody. You can't walk through a door. Doors are made out of wood. But you'll never believe who walked through the doorway? Well, it was Mr. Marty, of course. You should have been able to guess that. Who else could it have been? Mr. Marty looked pretty normal. Well, he did have a sock puppet on one hand. The puppet looked like a miniature version of Mr. Marty. But other than that, Mr. Marty seemed pretty normal. He stuck his puppet in my face. "You must be the birthday boy," the puppet said in a weird high voice. "Is your name AJ?" My parents always tell me not to talk to strangers, especially strangers who have a puppet on their hand. But I figured it would be okay because Mr. Marty was my mom's old friend. "Why are you wearing a sock on your hand?" I asked Mr. Marty. "Just ignore that big guy behind me," said Mr. Marty's sock puppet. "Talk to the hand. My name is Mini Marty, and I love a party." Mini Marty? People who walk around with sock puppets of themselves are weird. "I bet you're excited about your birthday coming up," said Mini Marty. "Yeah, I guess," I replied unexcitedly. "I know what it's like," Mr. Marty said. "I was a boy once." "Just once?" I replied. "I'm a boy all the time." "Hey, that's a good one," said Mini Marty. Then the puppet let out a weird laugh, even though I didn't say anything funny. My mom came over to give Mr. Marty a hug. She pretended like it wasn't weird for Mr. Marty to walk around with a sock puppet of himself on his hand. She also gave him a cup of coffee, which is what grownups do. Anytime grownups come over to your house, they have to have a drink of coffee together. That's the first rule of being a grownup. Mr. Marty drank the coffee using his non-puppet hand. Mini Marty didn't drink any coffee. I wondered if Mr. Marty ever took Mini Marty off his hand. I mean, it would be hard to take a shower with a puppet on your hand. How would you soap yourself up? "This is going to be your birthday party, AJ," said Mini Marty. "So you should make the important decisions. What kind of party do you want to have?" "How about a skateboarding party?" I suggested. All three grown-ups said at the same time. And you know what that means? It means I wasn't going to have a skateboarding party. "There might be liability issues," said Mini Marty. I didn't know what that meant, but I figured liability means the ability to lie. "How about a football party?" I suggested. "We could go out to the high school field with my friends and—" "I don't think that's allowed," said my dad. "Somebody could get hurt," added my mom. "I thought I was going to make the important decisions," I reminded them. "You are, sweetie," said my mom. "Well," I said, "why don't you tell me what kind of party I can have?" "Great idea. You came to the right place," said Mini Marty, even though I didn't go anywhere. "I've got hundreds of ideas for fun birthday parties." Mr. Marty took out a thick 3-ring binder and started leafing through the pages. "Let's see," said Mini Marty. "How about a clown party? I have 2 wonderful clowns on my list of contacts." "Clowns are creepy," I said. "I don't want a clown." I saw a movie once about a clown that murders everybody in the town. I didn't want some evil clown at my birthday party. "No worries," said Mini Marty, leafing through the pages. "How about a dance party? I know a terrific DJ." "Ooh, I love dancing," said my mom. "I hate dancing," I said. "How about a paint your own pottery party?" said Mini Marty. "Everybody gets a plate, and you and your friends get to decorate them." After we decorate them, I said, "Do we get to smash them up into little pieces with sledgehammers?" No," said Mini Marty. "That's not part of it." "Well, then forget it," I said. A paint your own pottery party would only be cool if we got to smash the pottery with sledgehammers. And here's Jim's picture of the kids slamming pottery with sledgehammers. And Mr. Marty talking with his hand. Okay. How about a science party, said Minnie Marty. Mrs. Wizard does lots of fun experiments. That sounds like school, I told him. Fair enough, said Minnie Marty. How about a gymnastics party with Miss Tumbles? That's not like school. She's an amazing gymnast. I hate gymnastics, I said. A cooking party, Minnie Marty suggested. You and your friends can make a yummy meal together, and then you get to eat the food you made. Cooking parties are for girls, I told the puppet. That's ridiculous, AJ, said my dad. Many of the top chefs in the world are men. Thank you. Next, I said. All those parties sounded boring to me. Don't worry, said Minnie Marty as Mr. Marty kept flipping the pages in his binder. We'll find something. I have about 100 party entertainers on my email list. That's why everybody calls me Mr. Party. Say, how about a Star Wars party? Star Wars is cool. All my friends love Star Wars. I saw the last Star Wars movie 1,100,000 times. Tell me more, I said. I know a guy who has a Darth Vader costume, said Minnie Marty. He comes over to your house and shows all the kids how to use a lightsaber. It's quite a show. Isn't that dangerous? Asked my mom. No, it's perfectly safe, said Minnie Marty. And here's a picture of Darth Vader teaching Ryan how to use a lightsaber. No, it's perfectly safe, said Minnie Marty. Okay, let's go with that, I said. Consider it done, said Minnie Marty. We'll have the best Star Wars party ever. I can bake a batch of Star Wars cookies for the kids, said my mom. Don't bother with food, said Minnie Marty. I'll take care of everything. The food, the music, the entertainment, leave it to me. All you have to do is be here on the big day. Mr. Marty loves a party. Then he left. This was going to be the greatest birthday party in the history of the world. All right, that's chapter 2. I see we're at 18 minutes in. Should I read chapter 3 or should we go to questions and answers? What do you think? Somebody want to give me some feedback there?
How about questions and answers?
Questions and answers? Okay. So then you're going to have to read the rest of the book on your own, but it's Mr. Marty Loves a Party. It's really fun. And I think you'll enjoy it and enjoy reading it as much as I did writing it. So I understand that some of you guys out there have some questions and I will answer as many as I can until they all kick us out of here. So let's see. The first question on my screen says, out of all the books you have written, why did you want to write Mr. Marty Loves a Party? Oh, why did I want to read Mr. Marty Loves a Party today? That's a great question. And I'll tell you why. When the pandemic started in March, I started doing these read alouds on Facebook Live, and I did 100 of them. 100, that was about, I think, 21 My Weird School books. And during the course of the time I was doing all these read alouds, this book came out. And I never got the chance to read this one on all my read alouds. And a lot of people said, oh, we want to hear Mr. Marty Loves a Party. So that's why I chose this particular book to read to you guys today. It's the newest one. And by the way, the next My Weird School book is coming out in October. It's going to be called Mrs. Bacon is Fakin'. And Mrs. Bacon is the band teacher at school. Okay, I see another question on my screen. And it says, where do you get your inspirations? And that's a good question too. I'd say that, you know, I get ideas for books from all over. You know, I read the newspaper every day. I watch TV, I listen to the radio. I've got 2 kids of my own who have given me lots of ideas. And I also remember what it was like to be a kid. That gives me ideas too. And I also very often get inspired by kids out there. When I visit schools in person or online, just talking to them gives me ideas. And so that's how I get my ideas, all different places. So the next question on the list is, do you crack yourself up when you write funny things in your stories? The answer is hardly ever. I'm trying to be funny. I'm trying to make you kids laugh. But honestly, I very rarely make myself laugh. The only time I really recall making myself laugh was, I think it was in Officer Spence Makes No Sense, where I had all the teachers in the gym, they're fooling around doing exercises and stuff. And AJ and his friends, they burst into the gym like cops on a cop show on TV, and they yell, "Freeze, dirtbags!" And that cracked me up thinking about it. So I've used that a few times since then. But I think that's the only time I really laughed out loud while I was working on a My Weird School book. Okay, so this is another question from Elizabeth and Misha. I hope I pronounced that right. They're third graders. How many kids do you have? I have 2 kids. They're hardly kids anymore, actually. My son, Sam, is now 30 years old. Whew, time flies. And my daughter, Emma, is 25 years old. And Sam, I live in New York City. Sam lives in South Jersey, where he grew up. He's a musician. And my daughter, Emma, she is going to graduate school. She's working on her master's degree in museum studies. She wants to work in museums. So, and she's actually living with us right now during this pandemic. In fact, she kicked me out of my office because this is my bedroom, and I usually work in the office over there, but it's her bedroom while she's living with us. So I don't have an office. Okay, let's see. Cooper in 3rd grade has some praise. Okay, I'll take praise. He loved the Wizard of Oz quote from Miss Patty is Batty. I don't remember that quote, but I'm glad you liked it. The Wizard of Oz is one of my favorite movies. I've seen it a bunch of times. What do you say to kids who hate to read? I would say they need to read more My Weird School books because I was a kid like that. When I was a kid, I hated to read. Everybody thinks that authors, they must have been great readers. I hated to read. I wasn't good at it. I thought it was boring. And my mother was really worried about me. She used to buy me comic books and Mad magazines, hoping it would get me interested in reading, and it didn't work. And so I think because I was not a big reader myself as a child, I think I relate really well to reluctant readers today. And so that's why they should read my books if they want to get into reading. And I'd also say, if there's something that interests you, maybe it's trucks or jet planes or baseball or whatever it is, there are books about that topic. And that's a good way to get into reading, to find a topic that you really love and just look for books on that particular topic. Okay, the next question is, did you test out your books on your kids when they were little? Yes, I did actually. In fact, it's funny, when I first started writing, I started writing for grownups, and then Sam was born, and I started reading a lot of children's books with him for the first time since I was a kid. And I thought, maybe I should try writing for kids, And as soon as I started writing for kids, I felt, this is what I'm good at. This is what I should have been doing all along. So I would test my books out on Sam, and I was mostly writing for, 4th, 5th, 6th graders. And then my daughter, Emma, after she was born, she was in 2nd grade, and she was reading Junie B. Jones. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Junie B. Jones. And I thought there should be something like Junie B. Jones told by a boy. So that's really what inspired the whole My Weird School series. My daughter, Emma, and she was my test market for like the first few books until she got a little bit too old for them herself. Okay, next question. Good questions, you guys. Mrs. Minton asked, we absolutely love the My Weird writing tips. Do you always follow the tips you shared in your book? Gee, I don't know about always, but I follow a lot of them because I wrote them because I use them. And I'll give you one writing tip right here for those of you who like to write. And this is something that I do. When you write something, okay, look at your first draft, all right? Look at it and read it out loud. And while you're reading it out loud, here's the trick, okay? Pretend to be somebody else. Pretend that you're a friend or your librarian or your teacher or a complete stranger. And while you're reading what you wrote, like almost through somebody else's eyes, you could see the mistakes that you made and you could see how your writing could be better. And that's something that I do in my writing, and I think it would work for you as well. Okay, next question is, let's see. Oh, Allie, that was nice of you to say. Allie, a third grader, said, I love to read. Thank you for writing books, and thank you for reading them, Allie. It's kids like you that inspire them, and if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. Okay, so here's another question. It looks like it's from, I don't know who it's from. Which person that you have written about, real or fictional, would you like to meet and why? Good question. I did a book that you probably never heard of because it didn't sell very well, but I'm really proud of it. It's called Race for the Sky, and it's a story about the Wright brothers. I'm kind of a fan of them and technology in general. And I was reading about the Wright brothers, and I found that there were 5 witnesses to the first flight that the Wright brothers made on December 17th, 1903. And one of those 5 people was a kid. So I thought it would be interesting to write the story of the Wright brothers through this kid's eyes. His name was Johnny Moore. So that's what I did. I wrote this book in the voice of this kid. And if I could go back in time, I would go back to 1903 so I could witness the Wright brothers' first flight and meet the Wright brothers. That would be my fantasy. Great question. Okay. Did you have any crazy teachers when you were in elementary school? Honestly, no. Most of my teachers were completely normal. I do remember when I was in 3rd grade, my teacher was Mrs. Hamilton, and she had a temper on her. And I remember once there was this boy named Norman Peters, and he got her really angry, and she picked him up. Really, truly, she picked him up and she threw him against the chalkboard. Nowadays, teachers can't get away with doing that, but that's a very vivid memory from my childhood. Okay, next question. Thank you. Kim said, thank you for the advice to read your writing out loud through someone else's eyes. I'm going to quote you this year to my 3rd grade class. Great. Yeah, I don't know if any other authors do that, but I do it and it works for me. So I figure it'll work for anybody. Okay, let's see. Have you used any ideas in your books that students have given you? I have. Kids give me ideas all the time, mostly for titles for my Weird School books because the rhyming titles are fun to play with. And I would say 99% of the time, I cannot use your title because for one reason or another. And every so often, though, I will get a title that I can use. Like, for instance, oh, here's one. Here's a great idea. I was visiting a school. I think it was in Connecticut. I think it was Cobb School, if I'm not mistaken. And I was sitting around with some kids at lunchtime, and I said, what's the weirdest thing that ever happened in your school? Which I always ask the kids. And they said, last week the dentist was here. And I said, what? You had a dentist come to your school? Never heard of such a thing. And they said, yeah, every year the dentist comes and he or she teaches us about dental hygiene. And I thought, that's a My Weird School book just waiting to be written. So I wrote the book, and it's called Dr. Floss is the Boss. And I dedicated it to the kids at that school for giving me the idea. And if most of My Weird School books are dedicated to my daughter, Emma, because she inspired the series. But if you see that it's dedicated to somebody else, that's because that person either gave me the title or gave me the idea for the story. Okay. Let's see, another question from Evan. I think that's Evan in 3rd grade. Wants to know what your next book will be after Mrs. Bacon is Fakin'. Okay, after Mrs. Bacon is Fakin'. I got some big news for you guys, okay? This is gonna blow your minds. Are any of you into graphic novels? Well, it just so happens that Jim and I have finished our first My Weird School graphic novel. And I happen to have just gotten my first copy of it in the mail a couple of days ago. It is called Mr. Corbett is in Orbit. The kids are going to take a tour of NASA, and accidentally launch themselves into space. And you can't read this one yet. This is an advanced reader copy, you know, whoops, sorry. But it's really fun. And it's unlike the regular My Weird School books, it's 96 full color pages that Jim drew. It's really fun, and I think you're gonna love it. It comes out in on January 5th, I believe. Yeah, January 5th. So you can't read it till then. So na boo boo on you. But that's what's coming next after Mrs. Bacon is faking. Yes, Sharon?
Okay. Dan Gutman?
Hi.
Okay.
Sam has some questions.
Go ahead, Sam. Yes.
Do you have any more prank kits left, or?
The prank kits. Yes. A few years back, Scholastic made a bunch of these prank kits of silly stuff that they gave away, and they didn't sell them, but I got one. I only have one. I wish I could give it to you, but I only have one. And you can't buy it in stores anymore. I don't even know. You might want to try eBay.
We really wanted the squirting calculator.
I really wanted the prank kit. Oh, what was the other thing?
The other questions.
Can you come to my school next year, or?
Maybe. Tell your mom after we're finished, we should.
No, seriously.
I know.
She was the one who came up with the idea anyways.
I know. You know, right now, I usually visit about 40 schools a year during the school year.
Okay.
But right now, you know, most schools are either, you know, they haven't opened yet. The kids are going to school remotely, or it's going to be half and half. Nobody's sure what's going to happen. So
we're just going in person, because we're just going in person 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why we're not doing remotely, but it's just the way we're doing it.
Yeah. You started school already?
What?
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
Oh.
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. Yeah. Right now, I'm only scheduling remote school visits because, hey, look, I'm an old guy. I don't know if I should be in an auditorium with hundreds of kids with runny noses, you know? So I do think that hopefully down the line, I will be able to return to in-person school visits because I love doing them. They're so much fun. For now, I'm only visiting schools remotely. And if anybody is interested in having me do that with their school, they should go to my website. It's just www.dangutman.com, and they can get the information about how to make that happen.
No, I mean like after the pandemic.
Yeah, after the pandemic, maybe.
After it's all over, I'd love to come visit your school in person if we can make that happen.
Okay, thanks.
That would be fun. Will you wear your My Weird School t-shirt?
I'll try, yeah.
Okay, then I'll wear mine too.
And we are very excited about the graphic novel. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, actually, I just finished the second one. We're going to do another one, and I just turned it in yesterday. And then Jim has to spend like 6 months drawing all the pictures.
I'm going to say it's a lot more work for you, for Jim, than it is for you, for the graphic novel.
Well,
Yeah.
I read a lot of graphic novels, so.
Oh, they're really popular with kids nowadays.
Yeah, they are.
Mostly, the most time I read during the day is usually before I go to bed. I read a few chapters of a certain book every night.
I always fall asleep when I do that, though, don't you?
No, I don't. Well, this is a thing in a video game where it's technically like a hypnotizing book where there's this guy called Luigi and he starts reading a book and he automatically falls asleep.
That's like me.
But it's hard to do when you have books like yours, Dan, that make you laugh. Because that kind of keeps them up.
I should read more funny books. Maybe it'll keep me awake.
So Dan, I just want to say thank you so much for being on with us today. I know that your books have made such an impact in my family. The Weird School series was what brought all three of my children from kids who didn't care about reading to kids who got really excited about reading. And it means so much to me to have you here with us today, because I know it's not just me. It's like the pictures behind us, that's just a small portion of our collection, because you can't just read one book. you read them one after another.
They're like
know,
potato chips.
they're like potato chips. But I know it's not just my family, because one of the things that I love about working at the Book Fairies is we get everybody's donations, books that have been loved and read over and over again, come to us so that we can give them a second home and a second life. And when we get a box of books from a Dan Gutman reader, it's never just one book. You go in through and there's 5 Weird School books. There's 5, there's 10, there's 15, because people just can't get enough of what you're reading. I've actually had entire boxes of just my Weird School books come through our warehouse. And I love that I get to play a part in sending them back out into the world for other kids who struggle with reading, and kids who don't struggle with reading, because, your books are just have such a strong appeal. You have a really special talent.
And I really thank you. That helps me in a way, because every time somebody passes along one of my books to somebody else, I get a new fan, and they might want to get the books on their own and buy them in bookstores or share them with other people. So you spread the word, and I really appreciate that. And of course, the work you do, keep up the good work. It's wonderful to get books to kids who wouldn't get them otherwise. And it's so much better. It's lovely to see books on shelves, but it's even better to see them in people's hands.
Absolutely. And that is really our mission at Book Fairies, and especially to get them to kids who wouldn't otherwise be able to have access to them. And that's what we've been doing so much. A lot of the books that we've been able to distribute since the pandemic have gone to New York City homeless shelters for kids who had nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. And so let's feed them with books. It's been absolutely a remarkable experience to be able to be a part of that. And your books, so many of your books are a part of that as well. So we thank you. Can't say thank you enough for what you do, because it really makes a difference and it makes an impact, because you turn kids into readers, and that is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Well, thank you. This was a lot of fun too. And thanks to Sam and Gavin as well.
Thanks. You're welcome. Thanks.
Tell your friends.